Okay, I think we can start the session. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. SkillUpRight is actually happy to deliver this session, Putting Skills to Work, skill-based organization by Protima Talapatra from Ericsson. So before that, just a quick introduction about SkillUpRight. We are actually a corporate training company, and we deliver IT training and soft skills trainings to most of our clients. The clients that we work are like we have large companies, mid-size and startup companies, to including services company and product companies. So this is just a bit of partial list of clients that we have. So in case if you have any requirements that you need assistance, we can and will be happy to assist you with. So with that, I would like Pratima to take over from here. Maybe she'll give a brief introduction about herself, and also she will share her thoughts on the topic today. So over to you, Pratima.
Thank you so much, Vinod. Appreciate it. And thank you so much, Naveen and SkillUpRight for inviting me here for this session. I really appreciate that. I also am so very thankful to everyone here who has taken the time out to join me for this session. Appreciate the time, everyone, for you that you are taking out to hear about um, what we are doing as a skills-based organization, or how we're working with skills to put skills to work. But before I jump into that, a brief introduction about me. I have been a learning professional for over 26 years, having traversed through organizations like Tata Interactive Systems, where we started off as where for in terms of e-learning development, and I was an instructional designer there. That's where I started off. Moving into IBM, where I was essentially into learning solution design consulting, and then to Ericsson, where initially I led a team of learning developers. And then from there, I've moved into, for the past 5 odd years, I've been part of the global learning and development team, taking care of the transformation piece. And when I mean the transformation, what I'm trying to say out here is that I'm responsible for making it easier and simpler for people at Ericsson to learn. So the idea is to build an ecosystem which is conducive for people to learn better, and for the organization to create a learning, the right and learning environment to be able to benefit in terms of achieving our goals. So that's a brief introduction about me. A small piece about basically, housekeeping out here. I have a bad cold, so excuse me if I just come up with a bout of cough. So apologies for that. Somehow, I'm not being able to help that much. Also, feel free to ask your questions. Use the question and answer section to post your question. And if I may request Naveen and Vinod out here, any questions that come up, feel free to stop me at any point in time for the questions, because I think the more interactive we make this session, the better it is. That's about me. Is it okay for me to begin, Naveen, or do you want to hold it for a little bit?
I
Naveen,
think
Vinod?
Pratima, you can carry on. I have almost about 57 participants joining in. I
Okay,
think you can go
wonderful.
ahead.
Wonderful. I'm so very thankful for everyone out here. So what are we going to talk about today? I'll just give you a brief introduction of what Ericsson is all about. We'll talk about our learning strategy, the L&D strategy. We're at Ericsson. We'll talk about why a skill-based organization. What is it all about? I know it's a buzzword. SBO is almost known for everyone. We use it all the time. But why a skill-based organization? Specifically around Ericsson terms, why do we think it's important? How we are working with it? What is the skills infrastructure that we are creating? How have we managed it? What is the context behind it? What is the rationale behind how we're working with it? And how SBO is working, helping us. How is it working for us at all? How are we really putting skills to work? And then, what is our journey looks like. And those of you who are looking at having a skill-based organization or building a skills-based organization, or are already into the journey, what maybe some lessons learned from my side, and I'd be very happy to hear back from you about your lessons learned. So let's make it a opportunity for us, both of us, to learn out here. As I said, so a little bit about Ericsson. We are over 105,000 people. Our R&D budget is about over 47 billion SEK, Swedish krona. Rightly so, because we have about a little more than 60,000 granted patents in hand. Um, our regular turnover is about 272 billion SEK in sales, and we work out of 180 countries in the world. And that's what makes it a little bit more complicated for us, because ground realities across the world are very different, how it works, but it's an amazing experience to work for an organization like this. And having an organization like Ericsson to be a skill-based organization makes all the sense in the world. As I said, that we are working across the world. We have multiple R&D centers. We have manufacturing units, most of which are smart factories now. We have service delivery centers, and if you look at the numbers out here, these actually talk about the number of employees we have in each of these market areas. So we are divided into 5 market areas, starting from the North Americas, which is essentially the Americas and Canada. Then we have Europe and Latin America, Middle East, Oceania, and now Northeast Asia. So amongst that, this is a brief outline of how many people we have, what's the spread of our employees across this. A little bit to brag about in terms of where we stand when it comes to mobile networks. We are in a leading position when it comes to 5G. Ericsson is a 5G leader in the industry. We Out of the 249 odd Ericsson networks that were there in 2023, I don't have the exact numbers for 2024. Apologies for that. 147 of those networks are running on Ericsson. So 147 live 5G networks we have for Ericsson presence in there. And our customers are very happy. We're working with it, and it's been a great learning journey to be working with so many customers across the world. Now that I've talked about Ericsson, let's look at what does our learning strategy look like. So Ericsson's vision for 2030, when we look at what we're looking at, is to be able to create a world which has unlimited connectivity. It's a world with limitless connectivity, which improves lives and redefines business as to how we work. And that is what we are looking at empowering. And thus, our L&D strategy is to actually empower Ericsson to achieve that vision. So we are really looking at the L&D strategic priorities into 3 key areas. When we look at our ecosystem, when we're looking at essentially our platforms, our suppliers, how we work with them, our employees, basically what we are looking at is to make it easy for employees to learn. We want to make a learning environment which is easier, personalized, empowering people to be able to learn better. Then we have the culture system, where we are trying to create a environment where learning is not optional, it's a habit. We very strongly believe at Ericsson that learning cannot be optional anymore. It has to be essential. And we are looking at creating learning as a habit that really matters. And then the business system, where we want to drive learning to make it profitable growth. That's what our wanted position is. We want to have people with the right skill set and the right mindset to be able to win for us with the right integrity. So that is what our vision is. That is what the wanted position for us. And that is what good looks like for us. Now, having given you the context of what L&D strategy was, let me just talk about why skills-based organization, what really brought us to it, and why we're thinking about it. So I'll just talk about a little bit about the external facts that are there and how it actually translates into our internal pain points. And this information is actually coming from the surveys in the World Economic Forum, the PwC, the Phosphate Skills Research. So the external fact is that by 2025, 97 million new jobs will come in, and 85 million of the existing jobs will be replaced. How does it translate to an internal pain point? Essentially, we are looking at a situation where our technological capabilities are consistently demanding new and updated skills. We are looking at new jobs coming in, and we have to keep at pace with that. So that's an internal pain point as we see it. External fact number 2, by 2025, 50% of all employees would need to be reskilled. What is an internal pain point for us? people need to have the visibility. So I know I need to be reskilled, but reskilled to what? So the pain point is we need to understand very clearly. There has to be a very transparent visibility for people to understand what are the skills required for them to be ready for the next job that might come their way. External pain point number 3, 74% of the CEOs feel that there is a shortage of key skills in the organization and they need to buy skills. What is our internal pain point? We are at the same in the same boat as these 74% of CEOs. We are also regularly buying skills, thousands of people that we onboard each year. But then there is no mechanism in place for us to actually be able to document what are the skills that we are really buying and how we will work with these skills. So it's almost like we are buying something, but we are throwing away the receipt. So we don't know what to do with it next. And if it does not work out, how do we manage that? External fact number 4, 56% of the companies accelerated their skills agenda, but 60% lack consistent skills framework. So we all know, we need have a skills agenda. If we have to grow till a certain to a certain vision, we need to have skills and what are the skills needed. But there is no skills framework in place. If I need these 5 skills, how do I achieve that? What should be the 3 odd steps to come to that? And we have the same pain point. We need more accurate view of what the employee skill profiles are that are there internally. How are we going to reskill this employee profile to achieve what is coming up next, what as in the opportunities that are coming ahead? And finally, the fifth external fact that I want to talk about is that 75% of the companies have significant skill gaps. Only 45% understand where the skill profiles lie. So again, how does it translate to our internal problems? We don't have visibility as to where the demand lies. So there's a gap in our understanding in terms of where the glut in skills are and where the demand is and how we can use the employees that are facing that skill glut situation to bring them to a niche area where the gap is. So I think that is the pain point, and that is what we want to actually work through to come up with a skills-based organization. Now, what does a skills-based organization really mean for us as an organization? Um, a skills-based organization is one where decisions about the workforce, from recruitment of the workforce to the development to their performance management, is increasingly based on skills, ensuring that we are as diverse as possible and inclusive at every opportunity for the entire organization. And this becomes really, really important for organizations like ours, where we are spread across 180 countries. We need to ensure that we take our entire workforce together with us. And what better way than to do it through a skills-based organization? So ultimately, if I am to just sum it up in 3 key points, what does a skills-based organization really do for us? Where does it create value for the people and business? It helps in retention of people and making it more inclusive. What does that mean? That really means that when now I'm looking at it in individual to support my requirement, I'm essentially looking at that individual to upskill that individual to be able to retain that individual with the new skills that are needed. And if that individual already has a certain skill, my key parameter to look at that individual is from a skills perspective and nothing else. So it completely becomes increasingly inclusive in an organization, because that's the parameter that I'm looking at. Visible simplicity. We want to make it as simple as possible for our hiring managers, for our employees to understand what they need to do to be able to find their next job, and for hiring managers to understand what they need to do to find the right skill set for the job that they have at hand. And it has to be extremely simple. And that is what is really adding value to both employees as well as business. And that is what we are trying to achieve out here. And then strategic agility. What does that really mean? Today, we have a certain vision. In the world that we live in today, it is going to be a very agile approach. Things are constantly evolving. any organization to survive would need to keep in pace with what lies ahead. Excuse me. And to be able to do that, it is very, very important that our framework, the skills framework, is as agile as possible. And that is what a skills-based organization has the capability to deliver. And then comes my next question to you all, and I would be very happy if some of you would want to answer to this. When one looks at a skills-based organization and whatever I've talked about over the last 3 or 4 slides so far, it clearly calls out that this is an effort-intensive solution. It would call for a lot of effort, not just in terms of in terms of the project, in terms of the funding that would need. It would also call everyone within the organization to start thinking out of the box and try to find a solution for it and work towards it. And it will not be something that is going to be delivered quickly. So one thing that one needs to be very, very clear about when you start thinking about something like a skills-based organization is to clearly analyze and find out if the squeeze, the effort that you will put in for the squeeze, the juice would be really worth for that. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. And maybe then we together try to answer that question. But let's figure out if the juice will be worth the squeeze. Any questions so far before I jump into the jobs and skills model, as we call it, that is empowering our skills-based organization? If you have no questions, maybe I'll just jump into the introducing what the jobs and skills model is all about. The jobs and skills model is essentially what is empowering our skills-based organization. What does it really mean to have a jobs and skills model? Basically, a job and skills model is the job is the work we need, and skills is the people we have and the experience that they have. So that is skills. So the work that the work that needs to be done is the job. The people and the business experience is what they bring in as skills. This, when we put it together, the skills proficiency and the job that are with the skills proficiency and the jobs that are there, forms our job and skills model. This is going to be empowered by all of this: the talent mobility piece, the career navigation piece, upskilling and reskilling opportunities, talent performance management, the rewards opportunities, and workforce planning. Together forms our job and skills model. This is something that has replaced our earlier model, which we used to call the CCM, or the career and competence model. And I'll be talking a little bit about how it is different. But the key value that the job and skills model really has is the fact that it is a simple solution. And I'll talk about why it is simple. It is dynamic because it is ever evolving. It is not something that is static. We expect our job role owners to constantly be updating the job roles as they work with it. And it is automated. So the entire process stands on automation. We are utilizing automation to work with it. And together, this is what is delivering the required value for a jobs and skills model, and to be able to achieve what a skills-based organization really needs.
So, Protima, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
There's a question from
Yes, sure.
Pankaj. How does a non-skill-based organization look like?
A non-skills based, are you saying?
Yes, yes. How does a non-skill-based, skills-based organization look like?
So Pankaj, ideally, all organization would have to be skills based. The difference only really lies in the fact that we have been moving from a competence based model. So a non-skill based organization would essentially be a competence based model. What does a competence based model is? Where we recognize people for what they are doing. So somebody who's a project manager, we recognize that individual as somebody who has project management competency. So when you try to hire someone somewhere else, you're essentially looking at that individual for project management competencies. So that is the one-on-one. Whereas a project management professional would actually be someone who's very good at, let's say, change management. Examples only. Somebody who's very good at maybe budget management. who's somebody who's good at communication skills, somebody who's very good at team management, but we do not break it down into down into multiple levels. If we have the ability to break down the project management competence into multiple skills as to what really takes for one individual to be a project manager, then it becomes far easier to look at that individual from a career mobility perspective. So that is where the difference really lies. Could I answer your question, Pankaj?
Okay. Yeah, it says X, yes, to an extent.
Yes.
And
Okay.
also we have another question. Does this mean specific JTBD, specific skills is equal to specific skills? This is from Zaheen.
I could not get what JTBD would mean.
A job to be done. JTBD.
Okay. Yeah. So so Pankaj, you said that I've answered your question to a certain extent. Feel free to reach out at any point in time, and I'd be happy to discuss this with you further. Yes, to a certain extent, it does mean that competence is essentially around what is the individual capable of delivering, or what is the has proven experience of having delivered, whereas skill is essentially what an individual is capable of delivering, and then we marry the two. So there is a job to be done, and what are the skills needed for that job to be done. So when the example, if I go back to the project management example, one could be a project manager, but what we are looking at for that project manager to be able to actually translate himself, or grow himself to be, let's say, a transformation expert. So and maybe he or she has the required skills to move there, but unless we have a skills model that really calls out that a project manager can be a transformation expert, unless we draw it out in the skills, it becomes very difficult. So that's the purpose of having it drawn out in that manner. I hope I'm being able to address the questions, but if you feel that I failed to do that, feel free to drop me a note, and I'm very happy to connect with you to address the questions.
Yeah, I think that now the questions are coming in. We have another question. You want
Sure.
to take it up now? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Let's do one more,
What?
and then we will jump to the rest of it. And
All
then
right.
at the end, we can do the questions.
All okay. So what exactly defines a skills-based organization, and how does it differ from traditional organizational models?
Could I ask you who asked that question, if I may just?
This is okay. Just a moment. Marishan Twir.
Okay. Marishan Twir, if you can just hold that thought, and I'll run you through exactly what I mean by a skills-based organization as I move through my slides. I think, and if it is not clear, maybe I'll come back to that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, he's okay. Sure.
Sure.
He says
Okay.
sure.
So what does it really mean? We at Ericsson are on a multi-year journey where we are trying to build skills as a systematic enterprise-wide approach. So we have clearly defined what are the critical skills that are needed by us, and what are the job role skills needed by us to be successful in 2028 or 2030, and what is it that calls for the individual careers. What does it mean for that? And then we have created a mechanism which is reliable in a manner so that we can utilize these skills effectively for our hiring. The idea, the game changer becomes that when the employees who have these skills and the interest and the ability or the location meet with the hiring manager, and becomes a perfect marriage between supply and demand. So we are ensuring that within Ericsson that we enable our employees to identify what are the skills that are needed for us to be successful in the years to come. And then we give them an environment where they can upskill themselves. And we are enabling our hiring managers to identify where these skills lie. And when these two meet, the skill supply that is there and the demand that is there, is where the perfect marriage happens. And that is what a skills enabled skills framework or a skills based organization would really look like. to answer the question that came in just a few minutes back, where what is the key difference? The key difference is otherwise, you would just say, here is a requirement that I have. You would just need to pick up one requirement that maybe I need to hire a transformation expert and say, okay, I need a transformation expert. So let me see who has the experience as a transformation expert in the past. Is it there somewhere available within the organization? Yes, no, I don't know. Or do I need to buy it? That is where it lies. But here, if we can actually break down every competence into skills, every job into skills, we can identify for every job what the skills are needed, and then we enable our people to upskill themselves, and then we enable our hiring managers to identify where these skills are located within the organization, is when the magic will really happen. So how have we really approached this? We started off with this in 2020 and 2021, where we started the initial process, where we did a very initial work in identifying what the critical skills that we need that were needed in the organization connected to our strategy. In 2022 and 2023, we mobilized the process where we digitalized our jobs and the skills attached to them. So we said, let's move away from this existing CCM model and let's do it this way. For every job role, we need to identify what the skills are needed. And we started putting it into our talent marketplace. And now in 2024 and going forward in 2025, we are trying to capitalize on this, where we now have an architecture, a skills and a jobs architecture in place, where all of these skills are defined and we can work with this. So that is where we are today. And we hope to be able to continue to capitalize this as we move forward. So when I talk about a skills-based organization, this might answer some of the question that we had a few minutes back, that how can we make skills that matter for jobs and business growth? So we talk about a bottoms-up approach first, where we say, as an employee, I can identify the skill that is needed for me, for my individual work and for performance. And then from a top-down perspective, at an organization, we understand what are the skills needed for us to deliver our strategy for business growth. And then what does that ultimately mean? It ultimately means from a top-down perspective, we have clearly defined 7 global critical skill areas. And then from a bottom-up perspective, we have identified what are the skills needed for every job role. And these two together then take us to the future as we move forward for us to enable us for our business growth. So that is what a skills-based organization really enables us. What is our I've been talking about the jobs and skills model. So if you had to look at a one pager as to what this jobs and skills model is all about. So basically what it looks like is we have some data sources. So we've been using these data sources from the likes of TechWolf, which are providing us with skill areas. So I talked about the 7 skill areas that we have. Within the skill areas, we have skill clusters. Within these skill clusters, we have what we call skills. And then we have behaviors. So skills is all about, what are you capable of doing? And then behaviors is how will you be doing that? And these skill areas, skill clusters, skills and behaviors together form our global critical skill areas and job role skill areas. And these individually are defined at a proficiency level. The skills are defined at a proficiency level, starting from an introductory level to fundamental to experienced to advanced. Every job role within the organization has job stages within it. So let's say, a job stage 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So which is basically the hierarchy or the experience level within the same job role. And this together is clearly visible on Success Factors, which is our talent management platform, on Career Hub, which is our talent acquisition platform, Degreed, which is our learning experience platform, Merlin, which is the job catalog or the competence catalog platform, and the job and skills app, which is our application where we host all our job roles and the skills attached to them. So this entire ecosystem that we have built helps us at Ericsson to put our jobs and skills to work. What is the work that is they're doing? They're helping us in recruiting so we can attract the right talent, matching with the right skill set, Career development of employees. So it enables career mobility. It helps in learning. It helps in workforce planning, and it helps in rewards. So this is what is enabling the entire infrastructure that we've created, the ecosystem that we have created out here actually helps us putting skills to work. I think someone asked me some time back as to what is the difference between a competence-based model and a jobs and skills model. I believe, Pankaj, you said a non-skill based model or a competence-based model. So the key difference between a competence-based model and jobs and skill model is the fact that competence-based model is where job is the main focus. As I said, the for the example of project management job is the main focus. Whereas in the jobs and skills model, it is a partnership between a job and a skill and the skills required to achieve that. So a project manager might have to be good at time management, budget management, team management, etc., etc. So it clearly articulates this. CCM essentially looks at a career and competence model essentially looks at jobs-led talent practices, whereas in JSM we are looking at skills-led talent practices. What I mean is, it is the skill that is your passport to future. You need to build skills to be able to move forward in your career, and that is what the skills-led talent practices help. CCM was a completely manual process, whereas JSM is an automated process. There was a disconnected experience because in CCM we did not have it everywhere. It just laid with it as a static piece of information hosted somewhere in a repository. Whereas in JSM, this is a one single language of skills which is hosted transparently to everyone and anyone at Ericsson. So everyone at Ericsson has access to these job roles, and they can go into the job role and identify, if I am at this particular level, what is it that I need to do to move to the next level? So it's a very simple framework that helps us achieve that. How have we really worked with it, and what have been the phases of the program? So when we started off with the job and skills model piece to work with it, we started off with identifying where the pain points were. We did a business requirement identification. Said, let's identify the analysis and design. We said, let's identify where the pain points were and how they can be solved. In the phase 2, we did testing and adjustment. So we ran a test, an experiment. We did a POC. We did some test cases, and we just ran a prototype to see if it was really effective. In the phase 3, as I said, that we built the skills architecture, the job architecture, the catalog in place, and now we have this jobs and skills model in place. And now we are working towards implementation. So 2025 would essentially be looking at migration of all the job roles to this new model. A lot of them are already there. In fact, 99% of it is already there now in this new model. Whatever is not will finally move. Governance and the maintenance of this model, because we are saying that it is very agile, it is dynamic, so it becomes very, very important that we maintain it. And then employee relation and program evaluation. So this is where we are moving forward in the next phase in terms of our skills-based organization model. I've talked a little bit about the basics of skills architecture and how it really works. I think very important that we understand the definitions of each of these. And why am I coming so late into the definition? Because you've been hearing about skills and skills intelligence and skills catalog, etc. Let's spend about 30 seconds into talking about this. So basically, a skill is something that you can do. So a skill is an expertise that you have to be able to do a job in a certain manner. What is a skill catalog? Skill catalog is an inventory of all the possible skills that are needed. And most of this catalog for Ericsson, we are actually sourcing it from external catalogs, but we are also adding our Ericsson internal skills into that. A skills taxonomy essentially is a hierarchy of how we are structuring this catalog together. So we have the skill areas, within that we have skill clusters, within that we have the skills, and how we are working through this. And then we have something called, very interestingly, skills intelligence. What does skills intelligence really mean? Skills intelligence means that where do we have the skills within the organization? Where is the gap in the skills that are needed for us to achieve our business strategy? And where is the glut? And this is a really important piece to be able to understand how we work with this. So where are we headed with our skills-based organization? As I said, it's the skills and the behaviors, basically the learning experience that we have, which actually help us to create the impact. If we look at things with a little more perspective, basically a skill is what you can do and how you do it. So maybe you can be a project manager and you do your job very well and you have the the required skills to be a project manager, but you need to have the required behaviors in place to be able to create the right impact, the expected impact. One of those could be integrity. So do you have integrity as your behavior within your behavior span to be able to deliver with the solution effectively? And that is really, really important for us at Ericsson. So within the job roles, we have also identified the required behavior for every individual, for every job role. So for every job role that is there, we have defined required behavior. So we have clearly defined 5 focus areas within the organization and behaviors that we expect employees to be able to deliver to when they work with us. So how is the skills-based organization really helping us? And I talked a little bit about this earlier also. So basically the skills-based organization is helping us in recruitment and hiring. So, we are using the job role descriptions that we have built into actually be able to create adverts so that we can hire the right kind of skills. It is helping individuals in career mobility because it tells individuals what is it that they need to do to be able to move to their next desired job. It is helping in upskilling and reskilling because the jobs and skills model enables us as an organization to identify where the skill gap and the skill glut is so that we can identify the right opportunities for upskilling and reskilling. And then finally, it helps us in workforce planning. So it is enabling us in actually be able to plan where we need to buy what skills, how do we work with it, what is it, what are the global critical skills needed, how do we get around it, what is the buy versus build decision. It helps us with all of those. Let me take a small example for you and just try and articulate um, the advantages of the skills-based organization through this. So let's take the example of Isabella out here, who is a BSc in computer science. She is a software developer, and she's a little frustrated because she wants to move into the data science and artificial intelligence space. She wants to progress in her career. She's at a job stage 6. She wants to move to a job stage 7. What does she need to do? If it was in 2020, she would not know how to go about that. How can she become a data scientist at a job stage 7? Because she would not know what are the skills needed to be at a job stage 7 because it is not clearly defined anywhere. Why would this happen? Because the competencies actually say you need somebody who's a data scientist and what is needed to be a data scientist. But what Isabella would need at her level as a developer to become a data scientist, that is not clearly articulated. Today, it is very simply articulated that you at your job role have XYZ skill as a developer. A data scientist at a job stage 7 would need ABC skills and 1, 2, 3 behaviors in place. So now Isabella can effectively work towards it to get those skills and behaviors in place so that she can claim that now she's ready for that. And it also enables Isabella's hiring manager, whoever would be there, to clearly identify that here is Isabella who has these required skills, and maybe I can hire her for the role that I have in mind. So that is how our skills-based organization is really helping us move forward. Now, what is the competitive advantage that we are getting out of being a skills-based organization? It is the skills-based organization is giving us a skills infrastructure where we have clearly defined skills taxonomy. We know what the job roles require, what the job profiles require in terms of skills. We also have defined proficiency levels for each skills, and all of this is available in an automated manner. Then we have the visibility to a skills supply inventory. So we have the analytics in place, we have skills intelligence available. And finally, what it is allowing us is to do a skill-led people practice in place. So our learning is aligned to what skills are required, our hiring is aligned to what skills are required. enable career mobility through what skills are required. And finally, our workforce planning is also aligned to what skills are there available in the organization and the build versus buy decision. So that is where we are gaining a competitive edge around it. And with this view, we have now available within the organization is what we call the career hub. Within the career hub, the hiring managers have the ability to post the opportunities that are available within the organization for to hire people and the project opportunities that are there, calling out what are the skills that they need. Individuals like me in the organization can look at the career opportunities and the project opportunities that are available and opt for those opportunities. So it allows me to be able to intelligently identify where I want to make my next move, how I want to move forward. So how has it really helped the manager and employee experience? Basically, as a manager, it has clearly helped me identify if I wish to hire someone for a particular role, where is it I can go to? Where are the skills available? And as a manager, I don't need to sit down and create a job advert. I just need to pull up that job role description and just paste it there as a job advert, because all of this information is now already defined and kept updated with over 200 job role owners that we have today within the organization. And as an employee, it helps me to get better job recommendation. It helps me to identify my skill levels. It also helps me to keep my resume updated as to what I know and what I can do. So we talked about if the juice was really worth it. Any thoughts around it? Anybody would want to talk about it? We talked through the jobs and skills model piece. Now, if you are thinking of having this as an organization, do you really think that the juice would be really worth it? The squeeze. Any thoughts? Anything that you think that maybe it's worth it, not worth it? I can tell you how we can really make it worth it. We've been through this over the last 4 or 5 years as a journey. How we can make it worth it is the fact that you need to ensure that you have the strategic support of your executive leadership if you really want to make it worth it. You need to involve every function, every organization within the HR function. You have to ensure that all of them are there, onboarded, and trust the system. You need to be able to experiment with it. So don't just jump into it, experiment with it, see if it works for you or not. Identify the possible problems that might be there and be ready for mitigations around that. Think beyond what is available as an infrastructure. Most of us have the career competence model as an infrastructure available to us. You need to be able to think beyond it. You need to be able to identify what can we do beyond that, and how can we utilize what is available within the organization to be able to create something which is completely skills based. So, and that is where how you can make the squeeze really worth it. But these are the basics that you need to keep in mind if you want to make this success. Now, if I can just talk about us as an organization. So when we started off this journey, we were looking at as an ambition of being able to systematically improve the skill levels or identify the skills required for over 100,000 people and move them to a job role situation where these employees were clearly be able to identify their skills and the skills needed as they move towards future. What have we learned in this and how we can progress? And maybe these are some lessons learned that I can share with you. The value of this entire exercise would be visible only at the start and the end of it. In the midst, trust me, it is going to be a very, very ugly baby, and you don't need to bring the ugly baby and show it to everyone, because it takes the time that it takes the time. So it will take the time that is needed for us to move from the start to the end of it. Trust the process, believe in it, and then move forward. Very important that early on you connect to the strategy, you understand your organization strategy and understand what are the skills needed to achieve that strategy. When it comes to skills, remember that less is more. There's so many skills available, so many types of skills catalogs available in the market. You need to be very, very careful that you identify a small number of skill areas and work with it, because if you spread yourself too thin, it becomes very difficult. Ensure that your model is digital and it is dynamic, because your organization will continue to evolve their strategy and your model should be able to match to it. Ensure that you have the whole and wholeheart organization ownership. So your organization must own up to this requirement and come wholeheartedly. So it is going to be painful. It will not be easy. So they should be with you through and through. You need to have the data available that makes skills visible. So at all times, ensure that you have the analytics in play to be able to prove your point. And transformation, the digital transformation piece is the key to this magic. You need to be able to be sure that you showcase this with the right accuracy through the analytics and make it as digital as possible, as automated as possible. And that's all that I wanted to share with you today.
All right. So, Pratima, there are a couple of questions already. Some are in the chat window and some are in the Q&A window. If you want to
Sure.
take it up, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will go through the Q&A section first and feel free to speak up. I see Meena Mupaya, you saying that you're saying that you see that we have multiple platforms and tools. Is it not possible to do it with one platform and one tool? So interestingly, Meena, most organizations would actually have these tools already. It is not something new that we have at Ericsson, the Career Hub, the Success Factors degree. Yes, we do have multiple tools. Do we want to have just one tool? Trust me, we do. It's been a pain point. Most of our voice surveys say that we have far too many tools and we need to simplify it. And we are on a journey on it. I don't know if how far we'll be successful, but we are working towards a very, very, very positive, correct point. Definitely we need to have one tool. How do you identify skill gaps? Once we have the data, what is the process to access the actual skill gap in any organization? So basically how it works is, if you notice the fact that if I have for every job role defined the skills that are needed, and then we have every individual within the organization aligned to the skill to every job role, I clearly know where my skills lie. And if a new job role is coming up, and I see that I don't have those skills within the organization, then I clearly know where that gap lies. And this is enabled for us through a dashboard that is available, which is drawing all its information from the job and skills app. So it is drawing information from all the job and skills app, where what skills lie, how many people are aligned to what skills, and if there are certain gaps, if there are new requirements coming in, where is it that we can get that skill information? Do we have any skills template available? Akansha, no, we don't have any skills template available at this point in time, but there's a lot of information available in this on the internet. Maybe just check it out on with the likes of TechWolf and others. You would be able to find a lot of information there. Does that also mean that we won't need competency framework anymore? If yes, how do we evaluate the right competencies for a particular role, knowledge, skills, and attitude? We are moving. Pankaj, we are trying to move away from the competence model. Does it mean that the competence is not needed? Absolutely not. The competence is definitely needed. As you rightly said, that's a combination of knowledge, skill, plus attitude. What we are moving to a situation is a skill plus behavior model. So an individual, the way we are moving ahead, the ways jobs are evolving, it makes all the selves in the world to know what an individual is capable of doing, what are the behaviors he's capable of holding up, and what are the new behaviors he's capable of learning. And then we combine it together to see where we can upskill or reskill this individual to meet the next requirement. So I'm not saying it will vanish. What I'm trying to say is we need to rework this model so as to understand that the need that we have within the organization or within today's world to be able to upskill and reskill people, because jobs are evolving. If we remain static with a competence model, we will not be able to address that evolving nature of the world that we are going into. How do you collate the needed skills to build long-term strategy? Yeah, that's a tricky one, Poonam, and thank you so much for asking. This was a work and effort that we took over 1 year to put together. And trust me, it is not complete today. When I say that we have 7 critical skill areas, it's not even done today. What we really did was we worked with all our 5 market area learning teams. We sat down with all the market area learning team and the business area learning teams, and we looked at their strategic learning plans. And we looked at what are the skills that they are looking to work with, what is the learning pieces that they are looking to work with. And then we looked at Ericsson's overall business strategy. Where is Ericsson heading? What would be the skills needed to be able to achieve what Ericsson's strategy was? And then we married that information together to identify the 7 critical skill areas. But as I said, this is not something that is done and dusted. This this set of 7 critical skill areas is reviewed every year. And we identify what are the next set of critical skill areas that need to be there. And within the critical skill areas, what are the skill clusters that need to be there? Within those skill clusters, what are the skills needed? So it's an evolving space. Is there a skill metrics template available that is in use? Yes, there's a skills matrix template that is in use, Mayuresh. You can also gather it from this thing, from TechWolf. But if you don't get it, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to support you with that. I have 2 more questions in the chat area. How easy it is for an eligible employee to make a job shift culturally in an organization? Enabling that has always been a challenge. You are so right. You're absolutely right, Shiv. It is not that easy because most often within the organization, we work with our own biases. We identify individual basis of what they have done in the past. So the competence those individuals hold. So we actually try and identify individual with the competence that they hold. But we want to move away from that in the interest of D&I. What we are doing is for every job that we are looking at, we are first defining for you to be able to do this job, you need these skills. So if I am to apply for a job, my first piece that I need to do is identify what skills I have and then apply for it. Because at Ericsson, we believe in hiring for potential, not so much for experience, but for potential. Experience obviously is very, very important, but potential also comes in, especially in today's world where it is really, really important for individuals to survive in the constantly jobs that are evolving. I see another question here. I seem to have lost the. Ramesh says startups, funded companies, and young organizations care less about these kinds of transformation. How would you address this problem? You're very right. Priorities can be very different for different organizations. I talk from a perspective of an organization, Ericsson, which is over 140 years old. So I have my own perspective. But I assure you, Ramesh, every organization today needs to be able to identify what are the skills needed for us to be successful. And I'm sure people would work towards it as it comes to. Naveen, Vinod, I've tried to answer all the questions that I came across. Is there anything else that anyone really wants to ask question? I know we just have about 2 minutes to go. Any specific question? If I could not answer your question, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available on LinkedIn or anywhere else. Happy to answer your questions. And if I may say so, it has been a complete pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for being such a perfect audience. Really appreciate your time.
Okay, Protima, thank you very much for an insightful session today. I mean, what I especially liked is, bringing the case of your company where the challenges are, and along with that, the strategies, the best practices, what you have shared will be undoubtedly help us in our professional life. Also, lastly, to our attendees who made their presence out of their busy schedule, and to this event makes a meaningful because of them. We hope you found this sessions informative and impactful. In case if you have any questions, like Pratima said, you can reach her out. And also, we have left our feedback link in the chat window. So if you can fill up the feedback form, that will help us as well. So thank you, Protima, for a wonderful and insightful session. Look forward to have you again as a speaker for our upcoming sessions.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day
Thank
ahead.
you.